Hey guys, what's up? It's Charlie here, and today we're going to be looking at 10 secret tricks every cop uses on you. So in our lives, we've likely all come into contact with a police officer before. Well, while this was happening, something you may not have realized is they're using tons of tricks on you all the time. So here are some sneaky tactics cops don't want you to know. But before we get into it, be sure to subscribe and press the notification bell too. Coming in at number 10 is quotas. So this fact is incredibly scary. Did you know that the number of arrests at the end of the month always spike? Now you may be thinking this is a coincidence, but it isn't. The reason there's so many arrests at the end of the month is because of arrest quotas. You see, in each area, cops have to prove they're doing their job. So many police departments will have a quota of how many people they should be arresting in a certain amount of time. So let's say their quota is 1,000 arrests, but at the end of the month they've only got 500. This means they quickly need to arrest 500 extra people in a short amount of time. Well, this leads to them writing up and arresting a lot of people for absolutely nothing. You could be going slightly over the speed limit or doing something which isn't even really illegal. For example, someone was arrested for going 1 mile an hour over the speed limit, and another person was arrested for having alcohol in public even though it was in a bag. Now, technically arrest quotas are not allowed. However, they do exist, and sometimes cops can pressure each other to do this. Now, there's a few reasons why this would be done. One of the reasons why it would be done is to show that they're doing a good job. Police have to report all of their stats, so they want to look good. So if they have high arrest numbers, it looks like they're doing a good job. Now that's fair enough, but it also has a very negative impact. It makes their area look bad. Now, police would want this as it improves their funding. If an area looks like it's ridden with crime, then the cops will need a lot more funding to tackle it. And one of the main things police departments are concerned about is their funding. Now you may be thinking it's good that cops get all this funding, but it's not at the expense of the area. You see, there are bad consequences about all these extra arrests being reported for monthly quotas. For example, it drives down housing prices, causing your house to drop in value, and it also decreases the number of tourists who go there. That can then put a massive drain on the economy and local businesses. Seeing as arrest quotas aren't allowed anyway, there's no real way to stop them. But just remember to try and always be on your best behavior at the end of the month. This is when cops will be doing arrest quotas in your area, so be careful. Next up is funding. Let me ask you a simple question. How is the police funded? Now, you may be saying it's obviously by taxes, but you may be surprised to learn that only 40% of police funding comes from taxes. So the main way police make their money is by something called civil forfeiture. This accounts for 60% of all the money the police generate. But what is civil forfeiture? Well, when a criminal is arrested, their items can be seized if it's relevant to the crime. For example, if you were a drug lord and you bought a flash car, that could be seized. Those items that are seized are then auctioned off at police auctions for a ton of money. Now this may sound all fine, but there's a few problems with this system. First off, police are often accused of seizing more than what's necessary. In some cases, police have seized things simply because they're expensive and not because they're related to the crime. And sometimes they take a ton of things from rich criminals which would cost a lot to auction off. And this even goes for white-collar criminals who aren't even that dangerous. It may shock you to learn that you don't have to be charged or convicted to have this happen. Civil forfeiture can take place simply because you're arrested, so they don't even have to prove that you did the crime before they start taking your stuff. What do you think about the civil forfeiture system? Some people like it as it means less taxes need to go to the cops. And of course this saves the taxpayer money. However, the bad side is this system could be abused. Sometimes police sell off things like flash cars or houses for thousands of dollars. Let me know your thoughts on the civil forfeiture system. Next up is background checking. Have you ever seen someone and thought, I wonder what their backstory is? Well, if you were a cop, you wouldn't just be able to think it, you'd be able to actually find it out. Cops have the power to check anyone's background. That's right, an entire record of your life since birth is available for any cop to see. We've all been guilty of Facebook stalking people before, but you can't get too much information from that. However, police have our whole backgrounds to check through. Even if you don't have a criminal record or have never even got a parking ticket, police still have your background. Many cops have admitted to checking through people's backgrounds the entire time when they're bored at work. Just think about how easy it would be to look at your friends' or neighbors' backgrounds. Many cops also admit to checking out their Tinder dates' backgrounds before going out with them. And one cop even found out that his wife had been hiding crimes from him. And one former cop named Brandon Johnson said he used to do background checks on so many people when he was bored at work and a laptop was nearby. Who would you want to background check if you had the power to do this? And if you say you wouldn't do it at all because it's unethical, then get real. Next up is covering up. So cops are supposed to be upstanding citizens, but it's no secret that sometimes even the cops don't obey the laws. We all know that cops stand united and stick up for each other, but sometimes this goes too far. Now, when a cop does something bad, a complaint can be made against them, but the chances are most of these complaints won't be seen by anyone. That is because if you make a complaint about a cop, it will likely be destroyed. The Guardian newspaper found out that 1/3 of all complaints against cops are destroyed. This was found by hackers who hacked into the police system and found tons of complaints were deleted. This means higher up cops never find out about the crimes low-level cops do. It's very scary to think that even if a cop breaks the law, they may get away with it. In 2017, 1 million reports against cops were filed. However, this will actually only be 2/3 of all complaints, as 1/3 gets destroyed. Now, this is very scary, but nothing seems to have happened about it. So far, there's been no way to prevent cover-ups happening like this, and I can only assume that some things are still being covered up in the police force. Don't get me wrong, it is a good thing that cops stand united and stick up for each other, but when it comes to breaking the law to keep bad cops on the force, it's going too far. People always wonder how crooked cops remain on the force for so long, but I guess this is how. Next up is car tapping. So if you've ever been pulled over by a cop, you may have noticed them tap the back of your car. But why is this? A lot of people get very concerned when a cop does this, as they may be planting something or breaking your taillight. However, this is not the case. They're actually doing this to protect you and them. When a cop touches the back of your car, it leaves their fingerprint behind. This then allows the car to be traced back to the cop who pulled it over. So for example, if you drove off after they did this and they stopped your car again, they'd be able to use the fingerprint to trace it back to the cop before. Or if a cop pulled you over for a bad reason, you can make a complaint about them using the fingerprint. Now, cops don't have to do this, but it is advised for both parties. And you shouldn't be annoyed when police do this, as a lot of stolen cars are retrieved this way. One day in Austin, Texas, a cop pulled over a car and tapped the back of it. Later on, the owner of that car went missing and it was pulled over again. Police were able to see it was the same car thanks to the fingerprint, and it turned out the guy who was missing was actually kidnapped and was in the trunk of the car. Police were able to rescue him and arrest his kidnapper. And if it weren't for this fingerprint tap, this would never have happened and the guy may have been killed. So if a cop touches your car, then don't get mad, because it helps you and them. Next up is lies. So, police are supposed to have good morals, and you may assume that part of having good morals is not lying. Well, despite the popular myth, police are allowed to lie and they do it the whole time. However, they do it for a very good reason, that is to gain evidence. Police can bust a criminal any way they want, and this includes lying to them. When they're undercover, police can lie about being a cop, and police can even act dumb to get a criminal to spill the beans by accident. It may surprise you, but police can also lie to you about test results. One day a man said he didn't commit a bank robbery. A lie detector said he was telling the truth, but police didn't buy it. So they told him his lie detector test said he was lying, and the guy then finally admitted to doing the robbery. Police are allowed to do this as lie detector tests aren't always 100% accurate, and they can even lie on scientific tests. One day a guy was pulled over for taking substances. He wouldn't admit to it, so they pretended to do a test. However, drug tests take time and money, so police simply told the guy the drug test came up that he was under the influence. The guy then admitted to taking Molly before driving. Some people say this is wrong for the police to do. However, pretty much all the time in court, this is said to be okay, as it got the criminal to spill the beans. But let this be a lesson to you, don't give up too much, as the cops could be lying to you. That's a free life hack for any criminals watching. Next up is duct work. So it's easy to commit a crime, but the hard thing is not being found by the police. If police are chasing you down, they likely will catch up to you and arrest you. But what if I told you there's an item which can allow you to blend into any environment? Well, such a thing does exist, and it's a very common item you can get at most hardware stores. One day a guy was messing around in a warehouse with some ductwork. Ductwork is simply compact duct piping, but it can also be used to evade the cops. The guy recorded how to hide in plain sight using ductwork for a funny viral video. He posted it to Facebook for his friends, but it ended up going viral. He demonstrated how he can simply be running along and then deploy this to hide anywhere. But the crazy thing is, actual criminals began using this. So it seems this innocent mechanic accidentally uncovered every criminal's dream. Next up is small talk. So if you've ever been pulled over by a cop, you know they make a lot of small talk. Well, surprise surprise, cops don't really care about you or what you're doing. The reason why they ask a lot of questions and make a lot of small talk is because they're waiting for you to slip up. For example, if you get pulled over and they ask where you're coming from and you say a party, they may assume you are taking drugs. One day a guy in Florida was pulled over and he said he was just coming back from dinner. The cop then casually asked what he had to eat and drink. He then said he had pasta and wine. And thanks to this, the cop breathalyzed him and he was arrested for driving under the influence. So that's why when you're pulled over, you shouldn't really say too much to a cop. Instead, you should simply answer in one-word sentences. That way you won't say too much. Some people over-explain and get caught up in their own lies, which is a surefire way to get you arrested. So be sure to always think a few moves ahead when you're talking to a cop, because they're always on. Next up is sirens. So police sirens are on every cop car. They're for getting from A to B quickly to solve crimes. However, some police have admitted to using their sirens for convenience over crime. I'm sure we all hate traffic and red lights. But imagine if you had a magical button which allowed you to speed past all of that. I'm sure a lot of us would use it, and so do cops. Now, it is technically breaking the law when they do this, but of course no one would know. Everyone else would assume they're simply going to a crime. And also, you can't really call the cops on the cops. Some cops have admitted to using their sirens on red lights and turning them off as soon as Some cops use their sirens to get past red lights and then turn them off as soon as they've gone past them. And some cops have even said to beat the rush hour, they use their siren to get past traffic. Would you abuse your siren if you were a cop? You may be saying no, but everyone gets in a rush from time to time and may be tempted to use their sirens. Next up is uniform perks. So this is a small thing which a lot of cops actually do. Cops are well respected in the community, and they should be. They put their lives on the line every day to keep us safe. And with this comes some perks. For example, at many restaurants, cops actually eat for free, while some cops have admitted to using their uniforms to get free meals all the time. One cop said on days off he would put on his uniform, go and get free food, and then take it home and take his uniform right off. And as a police officer, you can get into pretty much anywhere for free. Some cops have been known to put on uniforms to go into concerts and other events for free. One cop in Brazil was busted when he used his uniform to sneak into the Olympics. I guess it beats paying thousands of dollars for a ticket. And it's a pretty genius scheme, because think about it, nobody's gonna say no to a cop. Let me know if you would abuse your uniform if you were a cop. And if you are a cop, do you? Check out the poll in the top right corner to vote for the craziest trick cops use every day. And be sure to check out my second channel for more amazing videos. There'll be a link to that channel on screen in a moment. But as always, thanks for watching. Check out some more videos on screen right now. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to Top 10s.